All right, welcome back. Multi-Man Publishing Standard Combat Series, North Africa. We are now moving on to the third scenario, Operation Crusader. We've already played the two that preceded this in the summer and fall of 1941, Operation Brevity and Operation Battle Axe. The goals of those two campaigns were somewhat limited. The scenario gave the victory conditions as just capturing these four hexes. But now, with Operation Crusader, which actually occurred in November of 41, November to December, we see a much bigger battle here um, across the desert here. So a little more involved here. This video, I want to just talk a little bit about strategies and the situation, and then hopefully get some initial setups done for first the Germans and the Italians, and then the British, and then roll right into the scenario. So a number of differences here with this scenario. Obviously, we're covering more terrain. We are getting all the way to Tobruk here. And actually, one of the victory conditions for the British is to relieve the siege. Also, more units involved. On the British side, we've got some New Zealand division over here we didn't have before. Looks like we got 7th Armored out here in the field, too. And some other forces back here. And also for the Axis, we got more coverage now. We got both Panzer divisions in play, 15th and 21st. I also see that we've got more Italians in play too. Actually, they're Armored Division, RT, I guess I'd call it, and some other forces around here too. So a lot more playing field here. Um, Also with this game, the previous two, we only had one turn and we were just playing the activations till the supply units ran out. This one has 2 turns, so that kind of changes things. We will go through a end turn and then roll into the beginning of the turn here. So that makes things different. Basically, just reviewing the scenario here. I'll bring that across. Operation Crusader. This is from the book here. So we got 2 maps. We got 2 turns. Axis set up first. And we're going to start with the initiative phase of the first turn, November of 41. With the Commonwealth, both sides get 4 airstrikes each turn. Okay, file that away. But currently they can only be used on full activations, where you burn 2 supplies. So again, the number of supplies is critical here. The only reinforcements we'll see are additional supply units. Here's a setup, and we'll see that on the board. But let's focus here at the end. The 5 supply units in Tobruk, and any friendly stack 7 supply units. That is a lot of supply units. So they're going to have 5 in Tobruk, and they're going to have 7 supply units, which in theory enables them to keep Tobruk in supply. And then 7 supply units out in the field. It'd be nice if they could relieve the siege quick and get those 5 added, but 7 supply units, and then the second turn they get 2 more. So effectively outside Tobruk, the Brits have 9 supply units, which will get them 4 full activations across the 2 turns. All right, so moving on, let's look at the Axis. We do see the limit here. They only get 5 supply units, and then they get 2 more on December 41. So across the 2 turns, they have 7 supply units. It'll be interesting to see how to burn supply units across multiple turns. But beyond that, let's look at special rules. CW supply sources. Actually, Tobruk is a supply source, so I don't think you have to burn supply units to stay in supply. And then 4220, which corresponds to, let's see if we can pull that up. That's probably right back here again. Oh, they pull it up. Let's see, 4215. This is an interesting. Here, 43, so it may be to here. So that's their supply source. 15, 16, 17, 18. Well, that's 4320, so 4220 would be probably right here. So this region here. The German Supply source is, I believe, going to be off the board here, the primary road hex off the board here, which we'll talk about supply in a second here. Let me pull that back up here. Access supply source and entry hex, any road leading off the western edge of the map. Well, any road, it's going to have to be a primary road. Maybe they should put that. No forts or minefields may be constructed. There are forts already on the board. Play begins with the activation phase, just like last time with the British activation. And this is an interesting new rule. Rommel steadfastly refused to believe that any CWA Commonwealth offensive was underway. So, the Commonwealth is always the initiative, and the Axis player must conduct a reaction. So, as his first activation for each turn. So let's pull that off here for a second. So that does add a new dimension that we didn't have before. Yeah, they got to do a reaction. Only allowed if any zero supply units. That's good, but all Rommel can do is move, at least for the first activation in each turn. So that does limit the response potentially. Got to figure out how the British can take advantage of that. So let's go for the big one. What's the victory conditions? Commonwealth wins. Looks like sudden death victory conditions. If they can trace from Tobruk to Mersa Matruh via primary road, that's key. That's this white road here to Mersa Matruh. I guess I pronounced it right. If this occurs, the game ends with a Commonwealth victory. If the Axis can win if, well, obviously if the Brits don't get their victory, and they can hold on to Bardia. So if they can prevent that. So that's an interesting situation here. So let's just look at it. Basically, Tobruk needs to be able to trace primary road, and that would imply taking Bardia. That's the only way to do it. All the way back to here. Germans could try and cut the road anywhere beyond that too, so that's interesting dynamic. So the British have to, and they also have to take Bardia. They just have to for this to work anyhow. We see two forts out here already. So that's that. So if they can hold this side of the escarpment, they're okay. They're probably going to have to clear here and clear here to get the road clear. But if they can shove the Germans away and get the primary road all the way, they will win. Otherwise, if they can't get that line drawn and the Germans hold on to Bardia, then the Germans win. So interesting dynamic there. So looking at the board here, there's a lot more units in play, obviously. Like I said, here's 21st Panzer. There's Rommel. Looks like here's some units of 21st, anti-tank units of 21st, and then here's some 15th Panzer units out here. Let's see, and then yeah, here's a new spec. Here's a new aspect here. We've got all of the Italian armored division here, and the Italians actually have some Sabinas, pretty powerful, 812-3. Interesting stuff going on down here. South Africans, not quite sure what's going to happen there. Here we see the Tobruk perimeter. The escarpment is down. We've got a little bit of Germans here, but most of Tobruk is invested by Italians at this point. And here, of course, is the force inside of Tobruk. And we'll probably set them up along here. So they've got forts doubling defense, and then this trench, I guess they call it the Tobruk Trench, halves the attackers. And then we got an escarpments in play as you get closer, which potentially takes it down to a third. So I'm not sure if they're going to take, the Germans are going to take Tobruk. Yeah, here's 15th. Here's a striking point of 15th Panzer. So a lot of things the British have to do here to win. I'm just looking at it. It looks like 7th Armored, and we've got the 2nd New Zealand, which I think is the ones who ultimately relieved the siege. My guess is they've got to come here, but then they've also got to take Bardia, and they've also got to clear this road. They've got to clear the Halfaya Pass, and there are some strong Axis units here. Yep, all got forts, but not that guy. So a lot going on here. They got to clear this road, take Bardia, and relieve Tobruk, all the while maintaining a path here. So kind of got to think about that here. So should they try and use one force to relieve Tobruk and perhaps another force to swing behind these units and take Bardia? And they've only got 2 turns and 7, 8, 9 supply units to do it. Now, as for the Germans, well, actually, if they hold Bardia, they win, period. Because by holding Bardia, they prevent the British from getting that continuous line, and it is part of their victory condition. So, seems a little easier. Actually, I don't know how the British can win, especially with the 15th and 21st concentrated for a counterattack, but they do have the advantage 9 to 7 on supply units, and potentially opening up Tobruk would give them another 5. And that's what it's all about, supply units to continue operations. So that may be how they get the advantage here. So let's look at these hexes. We got to set up the Germans and the Italians. Some of these have limitations within 1 hex. So I'm going to go ahead. The Germans set up first. Well, let me make one more comment. Supply rules are key here. The only way you can be in supply, let's say you're using a supply source, is you've got to be within 10 hexes of a primary road, and this is it. And at the end of the turn, we'll use the full supply rules. During the turn for activations, you physically have to be within 10. You can trace through enemy units and zones of control. Interesting, they say, because each activation is 1 to 2 days. I assume you have enough supplies. But when we get to the end of the first turn, if enemy units and zones of control do block supply, and if you're not within 10, you roll for surrender. And then the next turn, you can't activate. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. And again, you've got to be within 10 hexes of a primary road, which makes me wonder what these guys are doing down here. So here are the supply units. There's 7. I don't see the ones in Tobruk. I'll work on that. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can do the German setup first, the Axis setup, and then we'll come back. All right, let's talk setups here. I wouldn't call myself an expert at this game yet, but let's talk German setups first. Their goal is basically to try and block the hole. Unfortunately, they can't here. Already here, and then 15th Panzer here. They're not spread out enough. So it looks like 7th Armored has a straight path to, well, hit the strongest part of the perimeter. I guess they would prefer to come in here, but this has got the, I forgot what it's called, 5th Light Africa division, I think. It'd be nice to swing around and hit here instead, but anyway, they've got to take these guys anyhow to clear the road. So they're going to have to drive right through here. And Artie here is threatening their flank, and 21st Panzer and 15th Panzer. We could get one heck of a dust up here. And again, the 2nd New Zealand, well, they've got an option right now. Either they can reinforce the drive through here and then swing back and mop up, or they can hook and go for Bardia to spread out the Germans maybe. But basically guidelines with the German setups. I wasn't going to leave them back here on the wrong side of an escarpment and then have to figure out how the heck to get out of there. So they had to be on the road. And at first I concentrated them for overrun stacks, but then I realized the Brits have 2 airstrikes and they're going to go for a big stack. So I spread them out as much as possible here. They're on the road and they're ready to react. And then we got Rommel here too. Let's see, where else? Artie, same thing. With Artie, oh, I didn't do these guys. Let's see here, 3, 5, 11. I'll just do something like that because I don't want to concentrate units. This looks like Trieste division here of the Italians. Artie, we spread them out, so limit the effect of an airstrike. But hopefully they're not too weak here on the perimeter. Put the weakest unit in the middle. Not quite sure what all the Brits are going to do down there. I think that's all the Germans set up. Oh, except for Bardia, where I just scattered the units outside of it for now. These may not be the units defending it, since some of these units may be able to fall back in. But we'll see there. Then I went ahead and did the British, the Commonwealth setup, and basically put these units on the line. The combination of both the fort, and then this is even, the combination of the fort doubling defense and the trench having the attack means, well, if the Germans really want to attack, they'd have to commit 15th Panzer and probably come in somewhere along here, which will then cause them to be, well, we'll see. So just basically put the infantry on the front lines. We got an anti-tank unit over here. Kept these 2, probably Matildas, tanks in reserve here, and then these other units, so we got defense in depth here. Let me get rid of this. So, and then the other place they had to set up was here. I'm not worried about concentrating the Commonwealth because the Brits activate first. And these guys are going to move, and I put them in the Zoc here, so they're not going to have to pay it and go along the road here. Let me get rid of that. These units didn't. It was mainly the 2nd New Zealand here. So again, 2nd New Zealand may go for Bardia out of the box, or may assist 7th Armored on taking on, because this is going to be a little tough here. Remember, the road has to be cleared, so got to do something about all these units. Actually, 2 German divisions are right here, 15th Panzer and 5th Light. So they got their work cut out for them. And then 21st and Artie are on either side. That's just, wow, looking for disaster there. But at least the first German reaction, the first German activation is reaction, so they can't counterattack at the beginning of each turn. All right, this unit moved up here. Let me get rid of this. Probably need to clear the Halfaya Pass, and that's not going to be easy. 2 12 defense units in a fort. That's pretty tough. And then 15th Panzer can either go this way or that way. Looks tough. Okay, the only thing I've held off on is placing the supply units, which I have to think about. Because, well, these units have to be within 10, but another supply source is an expended supply unit, so the first activation, I'd probably want some supply units here to help these guys go, and then some supply units here. I'm going to have to divide up the 2, so I'm going to think about that before the first turn. I'll place them before the first turn. And the Germans have the same thing. They've got 5, though. That's it. They have to decide, and they've actually got 2 sets of units in 2 places. So that's going to be another dynamic here. But with that said, I think we have done the setup here, and wow, I've already got 20 minutes on this strategizing, so I think this is a good break. This is going to be interesting here to see how this onus is on the Brits. If they can take Bardia, they assure the Germans can't win. That's an interesting way to look at it too. So, more food to chew on here. Anyway, before I leave, I did want to point out a cool site I've been using to get my history. Here it is. This is a website. It's I don't know what the initial is. Teak History. I've listened to him for a bunch of other stuff. He's done all sorts of documentaries. I'll put the link in the comments. But he did a 9 hour and 13-minute total, when you add up all the videos together, documentary or whatever on Operation Crusader. He broke it up into these parts, and then he condensed the whole thing into this. And I've listened to it once, and it goes through the whole battle. Operation Crusader, state of the British Eighth Army, the plan. Halder, chief of staff in the German Wehrmacht, was not a fan of Rommel, so there was some back and forth there. Comment about trying to kill Rommel, and then we get in here with part 6. Operation Crusader starts. The Panzers strike. Dash to the wire. Apparently Rommel tried to freak out the British commander by doing a dash. When they say dash to the wire, I think they're talking about the frontier here. Get the Brits worried that, oh my gosh, we're getting behind them, and they cause them to withdraw, which the current commander had wanted to do, but Auchinleck visited him and kind of gave him some background. Yeah, Cunningham. This is actually Cunningham who got sacked after this. He was the commander of the 8th Army, and Auchinleck took over. Then we got the infantry battle, New Zealand's final stand. And then finally, Rommel made a decision, I think, based on a number of things, including supply, again, which this game is modeling, and decided to fall all the way back to however you pronounce that location, but quickly turned around in May of next, 42 and drove the British back. And of course, this time he took Tobruk and got all the way to El Alamein. And that's why he calls this an accidental victory. British won in spite of themselves, apparently. So we will see how that plays out here as we do this scenario. So again, thanks for listening. If you've gotten this far, click like if you like. Any comments are appreciated. And please subscribe if you haven't. But otherwise, we will see you at the next recording. So thanks for listening.